Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about a realization I had recently. And I was just thinking about, I guess, life in general and where I'm at in life. And I work in customer service, as you probably would have seen by my recent videos. And so I'm constantly kind of naturally looking at other people's lives, the way they act, what they do as their jobs, their careers. And yeah, I'm just constantly reflecting on life and where people are at. And it got me thinking. And I was thinking about the way in which I respond when people call me dumb, basically, at the front desk. And it doesn't have to literally be the words dumb or stupid, but you know when someone is trying to insinuate that, and when someone is thinking that, like, you just get that sense, like, you can pick up on things. And I was thinking, like, how as a whole, like, I kind of just feel numb to it. Like, don't get me wrong, if I'm having like a bad day or I just feel extra emotional some days, it's gonna play on my mind maybe, or it's gonna maybe get to me a little bit, but it's not so much necessarily like the words they're saying. It's normally more just like when you just feel overwhelmed and you just, no matter what someone says to you, you're just gonna kind of take it, like you're just gonna feel more emotional that day. So of course there are those days, like nobody's perfect, but as a whole, if someone is insinuating that I'm like dumb or stupid in my workplace or in general life or with what I've chose to do with my life, it goes over my head. Like, I just feel numb to it these days. And I was kind of thinking, like, why? Because a lot of people really, like, that really hurts their ego. And yeah, it made me think back to when I was younger. So when I was younger, I really struggled at school, and not as in on like a social level, as in just like academically, I really struggled. And I just, no matter how hard I tried, sitting in a classroom was just hard for me. Like, my brain was constantly like wandering off, and I'd have to really bring it back to like, okay, like, listen to the teacher. Like, today you are gonna listen to the teacher, you are not gonna let your brain wander. And I'd have to have this little talk with myself like before each class, and of course I would just find my brain wandering off again. Like, I just found it so hard to focus in a classroom setting. And not only that, like, when it came to maths was, oh, don't even get me started. Maths was the real problematic area with me. Like, I just did not get it. Like, I did not get it. No matter how hard I tried, no matter who taught me, no matter what way someone taught me, like, me and numbers do not go together. There is just something in my brain that can't seem to understand it. And of course at school, that was a problem, because especially in primary school, like when I was younger anyway, I don't know what it's like now, but everything is like based on how you do in exams, how you do in the classroom. Like, everything is based on like academic, like it's based on how you are academically. It was when I was younger anyway. And then as a child, you kind of base your worth on that. And there was just so many situations where I was either actually called like dumb or stupid, or it was insinuated in somewhat way, which obviously as a child, you're like, what is wrong with me? Like, why don't I get it? Like, everyone else gets it. Like, why don't I get it? Like, and then you start believing it. Like, you know, if someone's constantly telling you something, and if it's not even just coming from one person, it's like coming from a few people, you're gonna start kind of believing it yourself. And there was a few examples, like, I remember there was this one time in the classroom, and my teacher was teaching us about shapes, and she was holding up like loads of different shapes, and then she was picking people out in the classroom to say what shape it was. And it got to my turn, and I swear this teacher had something against me. Like, I just feel like she wanted me to be humiliated in front of the class. I don't know, I just always remember this teacher, like, even from such a young age, I just got this feeling of her that, I don't know, it just felt like she didn't like me for some reason. I don't know. And she then, of course, I feel like gave me the hardest bloody shape because she knew how much I struggled with maths. And she's holding it up and she's like, Georgia, what is this shape? I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and I'm just like, I like freeze because like I'm thinking, I think I know what this shape is, but now I'm like second guessing myself because of how much I got put down when I was younger, especially when it came to maths. I'm like second guessing myself, so I don't want to say the shape because I'm thinking, I say the shape and it's wrong and I just feel humiliated, or I just sit here in silence and don't say anything. Like, you know, when you're younger, you're like, you don't know how to react. And I'm like looking at my friend and I'm looking around and everyone's looking at me. And she's getting more and more frustrated about this shape. And she's like, what is this shape? And she just keeps repeating, what is this shape? And she's getting louder and louder to the point where she's like, Georgia, what is this shape? And she's like shaking this shape and she's getting like furious. I don't know, it was honestly humiliating. Me and my friend laugh about this to this day because we still remember it. I was actually in primary school. We were so young, but it's just the memory. Like, I don't know if teachers realized at that time, like, you know, children, they still grow up and they remember these memories, and it bloody scars them. Like, when I hear the word shape, that's all I think of now. And I was just like panicking because she's like stressing me out because she's getting louder and louder. And I don't even, I think I probably said a shape and it was wrong. I don't remember now how that ended, but it was probably, I think it was like a hexagon or something. I don't know. But there were so many times like that where like I would maybe get picked out in front of the class to answer a question. It was always bloody maths related. And I just didn't get it. And it was just humiliating because everyone else around me is thinking like, duh, like this is so easy. Like, why don't you know? And I'm like, I don't know why I don't know. Like, it was just like this constant battle of not understanding why I didn't get it. Like, even when I bloody tried so hard. And that teacher in particular, my mum told me that whenever she'd go to parents' evening, she would always say that she'd try and say that I had something wrong with me, and I don't know what she was getting at, like whether ADHD or like, I don't know, like if she was getting at like an attention problem or like something to do with my learning, but she was always saying to my mum that I had something wrong with me. And my mum, of course, being defensive of her child, would always basically tell her to do one and leave it at that, basically. And yeah, like when it came to my maths exam for my GCSEs in secondary school, it literally took me, I think, like 8 times until I finally passed that exam. But I was determined to pass that exam. And I am sorry, Dad, because it got to a point where once you'd done X amount of like retakes of an exam, you had to pay every time. So it became expensive as well as frustrating. But yeah, I just really struggled academically. So going back to my point of like why now I feel like when people insinuate that I'm dumb, or like my job I do, like when they try and belittle my job or whatever it is, and why it just goes over my head compared to how maybe a lot of people would take it, I'm circling back to when I was younger, because when I was younger, I got told like so much that it got to a point where it just didn't hurt me anymore. Like, I'm like, tell me something else. Like, I've been told this numerous times, like whatever. Like, I just got to a point where it just went over my head. Like, it didn't mean anything anymore. I just got told it so much, which I feel like it could go one of two ways. Like, I feel like at the same time, like, of course, when you get told something so much, you start to kind of believe it yourself. And there was definitely a stage where I did start to maybe believe it and think, oh, well, I am dumb. But then, like, as I got older, like, it redirected my focus, and it redirected me to find things that I was good at. And by finding things I was good at, I was able to find things that I really enjoyed. Sorry about that. I don't know if you can hear the ambulance. I live by a bloody hospital, so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it led me to find some things. It led me to find things that I was good at, which led me to find things that I enjoyed. So the reason I say being called dumb was a blessing in terms of this point in particular is because I believe a lot of people at school who were good academically and did thrive in that area, just because they thrived in it or just because they were good at it, it doesn't mean that they enjoyed it. But because they were good at it and they were getting such good exam results and marks and able to get into these really, you know, smart colleges and unis and all of that kind of stuff, it led them to follow that pathway, which led them to jobs like, of course, like really important jobs that we need. So we need these people, but some of them, it led them to just like the corporate world, like sitting in offices. Yes, the pay is good, but that whole lifestyle is just draining and depressing at times. So because they were getting such good results and they were constantly called they're smart and like, oh, you can go off to achieve this and that, they followed that pathway and ended up miserable. Whereas for me, it was like it was like the universe was trying to like push me out of that. Like, we're gonna keep calling you dumb and stupid because we don't want you to be stuck in that pathway and follow a path that you're not going to end up happy in the future. So it was like it's trying to push me out to find something that I actually was good at and what I actually enjoyed. So yeah, I truly believe that, and I was able to like find and learn at a young age the environments that I truly thrived in and truly enjoyed.